Hey everyone, this is Jen with two N's, and I'm here to talk with you about a couple of different books in the Twisted Tale series. The first one that I'll be talking about is So This Is Love by Elizabeth Lim, and the second one is Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. I liked Reflection, was not a fan of So This Is Love, but I felt like they kind of go together a little bit, these two books, because both of them, the main character, like Cinderella and Mulan, are going after their prince in a way, but they're super freaking different. But there's like that one commonality. So This Is Love is about Cinderella, and the question that Elizabeth Lim asks is, what if Cinderella never tried on the glass slipper? I was about to say golden slipper, but it's glass. So what if she never tried that on? So the story kind of starts out the same it starts out the same where Cinderella is living with her terrible stepmom and the twat stepsisters, and she goes to the ball secretly. And of course, Prince falls in love with her because that's what happens in life. You meet somebody 5 minutes and all of a sudden you love them. And goes back home, midnight, the whole dealie, but the stepmom finds out about it, locks her in her little tower. And when the guy comes by to have all the maidens in the kingdom try on the glass slipper from the prince, Cinderella is locked in her tower and is unable to do so. And I believe that Lady Tremaine knows that it was Cinderella the prince fell in love with. I think so. She doubts it because it's Cinderella and she thinks that Cinderella's a piece of crap. But I'm pretty sure that she knows that it's her. So she locks her in the tower. She's unable to do it, try on the slipper. And so the prince just continues to look for his mystery lady. And Lady Tremaine tries to sell off Cinderella because she's tired of her. She doesn't want her crap anymore. So she tries to sell her into servitude. Well, it's really slavery because that's what it is when you do work and you don't get paid and you're slavery. And against your will, taken from your family. So sold into slavery. But Cinderella manages to escape, and then she ends up actually working in the castle as the help. But she does specific tasks. So first she's like a seamstress, I believe, but then she ends up working for the prince's aunt's. Well, she ends up working for the prince's aunt as her attendant kind of a thing. And there's so much that happens. There's a hit out on the king at some point, but the prince also never recognizes Cinderella. And so the whole book is basically about her, surviving, but also trying to get the prince to recognize her. So in my opinion, the way I kind of interpret it, she's chasing after this guy, right? So that's Cinderella. Then we have Reflection. And in that one, Elizabeth Lim asks, what if Mulan had to go to the underworld to save Captain Shang? And so this one too is also it is also about her chasing after a guy, but in this one, she's trying to save his life because, he's almost dead. So Reflection starts off, remember in the movie when they're on the snowy hill and the Huns are coming, and then Mulan does a little cannon thing, and then, shoots it at him. So that's how the book starts. But then Shang gets mortally wounded after trying to save Ping from the snow and the Huns. So he's on the brink of death. So after that encounter, the group is on their way back to the capital. And along the way, it turns out that Shang is super dying. He's just super, super dying. And then Mulan's visited by the spirit and basically tells him hey, if you want to save him, you have to go to the underworld to Diu to save his soul before he crosses over. And now Mushu, of course, would never allow Mulan to do this. She'd have to fight him. So she doesn't tell him or the cricket. I think the cricket's name is Cricket, but they're not in this book. They're not. There's another spirit, Shang's family spirit, Shishi. So much attitude. I love Shishi so much. So she goes with Shishi to the underworld to save Shang's soul. Mulan has to make a deal with the ruler of the underworld, Yama, that if she doesn't get Shang's soul out of Diu by sunrise the next day, all of them will be trapped in the underworld forever. And so that's pretty scary. But of course, Mulan accepts it. And then we get to see all the really cool stuff that happens in Diu. It's terrifying. I wouldn't want to go through it, but it's cool if you're reading it. So you get to see all those little things and learn more about the history of Mulan and all that really cool stuff. So those are those two books. Now, when I was younger, I just hate Cinderella. That's like my least favorite Disney movie. I don't know why it's so freaking popular. I just think that it's so boring. Well, not boring. I just don't like it. I don't like it. But Mulan, loved that movie growing up. Such a freaking good movie. And I think that I guess that there is kind of a commonality because like the movies and even the Twisted Tales that I tend to like are where the princesses are more of I don't know if independent, but they're not a typical like damsel in oh no, I need my prince and I'm going to fall in love and that's all I'm going to care about. I'm going to forget everything else ever existed because this one guy showed up. And that's what I just have always figured that Cinderella was. I know that there's more to the story. She's being treated like crap by the stepmother and her mom has died. All these terrible things have happened, but I just feel like that's like the main thing is like this prince has to save her. And I get that's like a Disney thing, but Mulan, it's different. And other Disney movies are different. So I just always have hated Cinderella. So this Twisted Tale, I gave it 2 stars. So this is love. Because I feel like it's just really the same. Like she's just pining after this guy. Just like he doesn't even remember, like can't even recognize her when she's dressed as the help. God, servant? As a servant. When she's dressed as the servant for the castle, doesn't even recognize her. He is still searching for her. But it's just, I don't know, man. Like, I guess that when you see somebody like in a place that you wouldn't normally expect them, like it's harder to recognize them. It definitely happens in real life, but it's just so weird. I just don't, so there's that. And then it's just like this whole time she's just focused on him. It's like the main thing is the prince. And I'm just not a fan of that. And so but like there's other cool stuff that happened. Like the reason why it's 2 stars and not 1 is because the princess aunt is super freaking cool. She's so cool. I like her so much. She's so sassy. Cinderella's friends, like the other servants in the castle, are also super cool. And then also there's like the plot to like kill the king at some point. So there's just like all these other things that are super interesting, but just Cinderella, I don't like her. Even just like listening to the audiobook, I was just like, could not stand it. Mulan, Reflection. I mean, the whole time, like she's still pretending, the vast majority of the book, she's still pretending to be Ping, and she is like contemplating whether or not she should tell Captain Shang that she's really Mulan or not. So there's like this internal struggle, but I feel like that just makes more sense to me to be contemplating that and for her to be freaking out about it because, I mean, she lied. Like this person doesn't even know who she really is. He knows who she is, but he like also doesn't, I don't know. I mean, he knows who she is, but he doesn't know that she's a she. So she's just worried about like him hating her, not liking her, or just like losing this close relationship that she's built. And I guess that we could really just delve super deeply into that, like the whole thing about gender, but I don't have enough time in this video to do that. But there's so much that can be delved into with that specific thing alone about gender, right? Yeah. So to not delve into that, she's worried about that. And so that's that is her internal struggle throughout the whole thing. Plus she has like her physical struggle of actually surviving DU. But I gave Reflection 4 stars. I should have said that earlier. I gave Reflection 4 stars because I just think that Mulan's story just has so much more depth to it. There's so much more substance. There's like this thing of her wanting to protect her family. And so that's why she becomes Ping, to be able to go into the army to protect her dad so that he doesn't die, go into the wall. Wouldn't necessarily die, but I mean, he's old, right? I feel like he was old in the movie. So she just wants to protect him. And so she's doing all this more stuff. She's doing more things for somebody that's not her, like outside of herself. Whereas I feel like Cinderella is just so focused on like her, I don't know. That's just how it feels. That's how like the movie felt. That's just how I felt about it. If you feel differently, let me know in the comments. I know that's probably like, I just feel like so many people like Cinderella and I just don't know why. Mulan, I think, is such a better princess. Also with Reflection, you get to see her friends in the military with her. Those 3 dudes are still there and they're still super funny. Captain Shang is still really cool in this book. When he eventually does, I mean, because eventually he's going to find out that Mulan is Ping, right? I mean, they're in the underworld. Like she's going to see some of her relatives. He's going to see his relatives, like relatives knowing, like they just are going to say things, like something is going to come up. Something is bound to happen for him to find out that Ping is Mulan or Ping is she, not Ping. So when he eventually does find out, I mean, that's a whole thing. But she, I think, is really the best part of this, of Reflection. I mean, Mulan, obviously, great. But she, so freaking funny, like so sassy, so sarcastic. And he's the captain, like the Shang family spirit, like how Mushu is for Mulan. And so it's just, since Mushu wasn't in the book, I think that Shishi was a good second to have as the spirit guiding Mulan through things, because just fantastic. Such good writing for Shishi. So yeah, that's that. So This Is Love, I gave 2 stars. Reflection, I gave 4. And let me know what you think in the comments. If you are like, dude, you're super wrong, I think that Cinderella is great. I mean, you could think that. We're all wrong about something at some point, right? So let me know your thoughts. If you want to see pictures of books that I post that are meh, you can go to my Instagram at read.with.2njen. And the dots are periods, but dot is faster to say, even though I just had to explain it. But you already knew that, what dots are. So you can go there and you can follow me if you want. And yeah, that's that. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.